Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hi, I'm Supervisor Paula Mahan, and welcome to Colonie Connect. Today it's my pleasure to introduce to you our special guest, Jack Cunningham, our Commissioner of Department of Public Works in the town of Colonie. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks, Paula. Well, nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. A lot of people are interested in a lot of the projects that your department does because they directly have an impact on the quality of life for our residents. So I'm sure there are a lot of interesting things that we can talk about. We only have a limited amount of time, so we're going to spend a lot of time focused on the new paving program.
Okay.
But before we begin, your background is varied. You have experience in finance and banking,
Yep.
As well as municipal government.
Yep.
And all of those things kind of combine together to give you a good background of experience as the Department of Public Works Commissioner. And so one of the things that I'd like to have our audience understand is the size of public works in the town of Colonie, because it's our biggest department. It encompasses a lot of smaller departments and districts, but it all comes under that umbrella of DPW.
Correct.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about the department as a whole, the types of departments, and a few examples of what they do, and the number of staff that work under your position.
Sure. Well, the Public Works, as you know, encompasses the Latham Water Department, Pure Waters, which is our sewer department. Then we have the Highway Department and the Landfill operation. We also have the Engineering Department, which the public doesn't have a lot of interface with, but that's a very integral part of our whole operation here in town. And then we have different administrative services that also come in, that work with those departments. And the department as a whole has approximately 200 employees. We have a budget of about $40 million. And it's a big challenge. There's a lot of work to be done, and every day is different for me, so I really enjoy doing it.
Yes, and I can understand the size of the challenge, because I think a lot of times people look at, they may see a truck riding around from a particular department, but as far as how all the pieces fit together, because each one of those departments plays a major role in making sure that we have the proper infrastructure, or when things break down, they're the first ones at the scene to put things back in order so people have good water to drink, and so people can drive on the roads, and so people can use their bathrooms without any problems. Everything is safe and healthy. All of these things go on a daily basis, and I don't think we can say that one department is busier than the other, because it's kind of like a trickle-down effect. When something happens here, it usually has an effect here, whatever. But I know one of the things that we've been doing for a while is trying to take a look at the entirety of the staff. And when we have major snowfalls, or things like, at one point we had the terrible ice storm, when we get these types of incidents that happen, it's also important to understand how to integrate all of the different members of the staff to get the job done very efficiently and effectively. And I think all of our people are working well together to try to do the best they can for the residents. So that in itself is a big job. And I think that your background and your experience really plays a major role in implementing every stage of what goes on. Like my position and your position as well, We have experts in every department, every field, and they're a tremendous help to us. So
Absolutely.
they answer a lot of questions and get things done. We have, when we talk about our roads, when we talk about maintaining them, whether it's just making them safe to drive on, or filling potholes, or plowing, paving, salting, all those things. We cover 57 square miles.
Correct.
Which is this is a huge town.
It's a very large town.
It's
yes.
very, very large. How many miles of road are we responsible for?
The town has 315 miles of what are called centerline roads, which means 315 miles of roads.
Okay.
And we use the term centerline because when we're plowing, that 315 actually turns into 630 because we go up one side and down the other. Whereas when you're paving, you're just looking at the number of miles flat out. But there's 315 miles of just town road in the town of Colonie. On top of that, then there are county roads that we don't maintain, and there are state roads that we don't maintain. So there's a significant amount of pavement in the town that needs to be managed, yeah.
And you mentioned county and state, and I think that's also something that people that drive on our roads, some people don't know that we have a combination of town, county, and state. So if we have a problem, say for example on a state road, then it's our job to contact the state and get that corrected. Even with new development, if it's on a state or county road, we bring them into the process for a new project, because it affects where they can have curb cuts, it affects traffic signals, all these types of things that all have to be addressed through your department.
Correct.
And so there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. One of the things is that we both have taken a good look, along with the DPW staff, at the condition of our roads, and also the drainage issues with all of the new stormwater mandates that have been put in place over the last few years here. All of these things have to be addressed, and we found that some of our roads were like 35 years behind well, that's the last time they were paved.
Correct.
And my understanding is a good cycle is about every 15,
A
stretching it
road's
to 20.
useful life is considered between 12 and 15 years.
Okay.
You can stretch it out a little bit further. When you get beyond that point, though, you're really starting to see a road deteriorate.
So we have some roads at 35 years.
Correct,
And so we all agreed that we have to put into place a paving and drainage plan. It's very expensive, but it's one of these things that affects our residents every single day. Anyone that travels through the town of Colonie is affected by our roads. And we have a certain amount of traffic that flows through regularly on a daily basis, of people that don't live in the town of Colonie, but because we are very business oriented, we're centrally located. The number of cars that pass through use our roads during the day, the number just rises so high. So we get a lot of use. There's no question about that. So this paving plan that's developed, it's Town of Colonie Road Paving and Drainage Improvement Program.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about the timeline, maybe what we estimate the cost to be, and how we broke that down.
Well, we've got a project in place right now that's a 5-year plan. We've committed $10 million to that plan. Approximately $8 million of that is going to go towards paving town roads, and then the other $2 million will be towards our stormwater management issues, and we can talk about that in a minute, but we'll focus on roads for now. We rate our roads on a scale of, we actually rate our roads on a scale of 1 to 10, but anything below 5 is really considered a dirt road. We don't have any dirt roads in town of Colonie, so we really look at our scale as being between 5 and 10, 5 being the worst and 10 being the best. And we're focusing on the roads that are rated between 5 and 7, and we're trying to get those roads back to a condition that they're usable and that they're not in the deteriorated state that they are currently. Some of our roads that are rated 5 are are not very highly used, so we're not focusing on those as much as the 6 and 7s. But we're out there. I think residents are starting to see that we're paving, because I get a lot of residents calling asking when I'm going to pave their road as well.
Me too.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of challenges ahead, and we do have a long list of roads that we're going to be out paving over the next 5 years. This is the first year of that plan. We're going to be doing about 12 miles of road this year.
Okay.
And next year we'll be taking another look at our list and making sure that we're focused on the right roads, and we'll be back out there again.
Okay.
The paving calendar only runs from really May to October. Towards the middle of October, because of the weather, you have to stop paving. So we have a very short window, and we have a lot of roads, so we need to get out there, and we are pretty aggressive at getting this done.
And that's another thing that comes into play. Our climate certainly has an effect on how much work we can get done in that area per year. And of course, during the winter, our trucks and our staff they're very busy making sure that the roads are safe with plowing and salting and those types of things. And along with all of that, there's a cost to doing the paving, and there's a cost to addressing the drainage problems, but there's also major costs that go along with the proper equipment.
Correct.
To do these types of things. And in a town this size, we also have to work through outside companies to assist us because it's so large. And I know, a lot of the equipment that is on its last leg, we're trying to address that as well to keep everything moving in the right direction. So it's a process for sure. And
it's incremental. That's what I tell them. It's an incremental process.
Yes, and the 5 years, that's a good amount of time. I think that we'll see a tremendous amount of difference when we get to that point, the end point. And of course, the goal is, after catching up, that there's an appropriate maintenance program in place so that it doesn't get behind that many years.
One of the things that residents may see, they're seeing a little bit of it this year, but over the next 4 years they may see or may question, why are you paving that road? It really doesn't need to be paved. Mine needs it more. And they're usually correct. One of the things we're trying to do as part of this program is to address some of those roads that are in better condition. They're not 10s, but they're in better condition, and do some minimal maintenance now in order to extend that life so that we can actually get them back up to a 10 without having to wait until they deteriorate and then put a lot of money into them. So the program is not only addressing the roads that are in poor condition, but the roads that are in relatively fair condition to get those improved and extend that life. We think that that's the best way to maximize the dollars that we have. $10 million is a lot of money, but when you start to talk about road paving, it doesn't go a real long distance.
Especially with a town of our size.
Exactly.
But it certainly is a good start.
There's
no question about that. And as far as that rationale, it seems to work for this type of a plan, because the fact is you don't want to be always doing catch-up. As roads deteriorate more and more, they require more work. So if you can blend the two together to get a balance, I agree, that's the best use of the money. And I know that the program has started.
Yep.
And there is a group that's been put together from all of the departments that are actually going through this process and preparing the roads for paving. It's nice to see all the different departments working together. They're one team.
One of the things that, one of the challenges that I came in, I think, to address is to try and utilize the staff more efficiently, because we can't be bringing on a lot of people. We know tax dollars are tight, and so we're trying to operate very efficiently. So what we've done prior to this year, whenever we were prepping a road, the highway department would go out and do their work to prepare a road for paving. Then the water department would go out with all their equipment and their crew and do that. And then the pure waters or sewer department would go out and do their work. And so this year what we did was we took one team of groups from different departments as one team. We take the equipment to the road only once instead of 3 times, and that team works together. And it's been interesting for us as an experiment to try and merge more of DPW together as opposed to operating in silos. But from the crew's perspective too, they've really enjoyed it because they started to learn a lot about what the other departments are doing, and so it's been beneficial, I think, to everybody overall. It's beneficial to the taxpayers because we're more efficient. It's beneficial to the employees because they're learning new things, and it's beneficial to the town because it operates more effectively. So
I think no matter where you apply that strategy, it doesn't matter what the job is, whether it's this type of job where DPW is broken down into so many different departments, and when they were operating on their own, each at their own time, versus an integrated program where they're all working together. It doesn't matter where it is. Whenever you pool those skills together and the equipment and the staff you've got, first of all, it's much more efficient with the equipment. It's much more efficient time-wise. And it's more motivating for the people that are doing the jobs because they're getting to see and learn about things that maybe they never had the opportunity to do before. So by integrating all of those skills, bringing it together and making it more of a collaborative process, it's real, as you say, it's a benefit to everyone. And I kind of think that's when you look at the makeup of the Department of Public Works, that's one of the purposes of having a commissioner, because they're all part of the same department. They may have different roles, but it very much is an integrated type system, or should be, to be able to get the best, the most efficient process that we can possibly put together.
that's what we're working towards.
So I think that's, and I think that's a major change, because I think that's a good move. It's in a positive direction, because it's just the staff is being utilized more efficiently. Eventually, we may find out that it's senseless to have a piece of equipment here that's used a couple times a year, and then there's another department that has the equipment, and they have the same equipment. It seems like if they shared that.
Yep.
And
We're taking a very close look at equipment as well this year.
And feedback I get from the employees is they very much want to help to make things as efficient as possible, because they feel as though they're responsible to the taxpayers, and they want to do the best job they can and do it in a way that is cost effective.
Yep.
And we want to make their jobs as best we can.
And they're an excellent source for information because they all have great ideas on how to make things more efficiently. Some of them are a little crazy, but for the most part, we've come up with some pretty good ideas. In fact, the whole organization of these three teams together came from the groups working separately and saying, why aren't we working together?
Yeah, and they are, as you say, they're a great resource, and so we appreciate their suggestions. You talked a little bit about the paving program's purpose. Obviously, it's to get things back up to speed where they should be over a 5-year period. And again, the estimated costs, what we're looking, the pool of money that we have to spend on this over the 5 years is the $10 million. And I visited some of the sites and saw the work that has been done, and visited the guys, and they are doing a terrific job. And so we really appreciate that. You pretty much, your schedule is set for 2010.
We have a schedule of streets that we're going to be going through in 2010. Weather permitting, we should hit all those streets. And then we have tentative lists for 2011, but again, we're going to reevaluate that during the winter and spring to make sure that we're hitting the right streets and make sure that there's nothing that kind of rises up to the top and says, hey, I really need some attention over here.
Now, if our residents want to learn about this program, they can go on www.colonie.org/DPW.
Correct. And we are posting the schedule for the streets for the next 3 weeks on the website.
Okay.
So if you're wondering if your street's going to get paved, and normally the first sign is we're in there grinding up the street and moving moving manhole covers around. But if you want to see if your street's on the list to be paved over the next 3 weeks, you can check that list. If you have a question, you're certainly welcome to call my office at 783-6292 and inquire. And we're only doing it on a 3-week basis because, as I said, weather permitting. When we start getting weather like we had last year where we had a lot of rain, it delays our ability to meet our schedule. And so we don't want to get our schedule all out there and have people anticipating something that,
Right.
that at the end of the year we can't get to.
Right.
So we're going on a 3-week basis.
One of the things also that I wanted to talk a little bit about is the paving program, the approach that you're taking with integrating the staff. That's also being done in the wintertime for plowing
Yep.
and salting. And so we have brought in people from our recreation department. That's not a time when it's very busy for recreation, but they're tremendous help when it comes to the paving or the plowing and the salting, as well as our general services department. So again, a lot of these skills that overlap. And I know you're also looking a little bit at possibly integrating some of the staff when we can get a clear picture of all the mowing as to how that can most efficiently be done. So there's a lot going on all the time, that's for sure. And along the way, as people come up against some type of issue that they're dealing with that would be remedied or given some direction by DPW, we also take those concerns on a daily basis. Those are ongoing.
Absolutely,
and we try our very best to address those. It's interesting because in this time period, it's the worst economy since the Great Depression. I mean, this recession seems to be going on, and it's a difficult time financially for everyone. But it's interesting that when you come through the town of Colonie, there's so much activity going on. From us, it's our roads being paved, work on our drainage projects, and then we have a lot of activity going on with a big project for the Maxwell Road relocation project right outside of the library here, and that's the lead on that is the county, Albany County.
Correct.
So that project is moving along very well, and of course we've got the huge project, the state project at the Exit 6 location, Route 7 and the bridge.
Yep. Can I just mention one thing about the Maxwell Road project, and that is that the town of Colonie is getting a big benefit out of that as well, because part of that project is to repave the front driveway of the library and put in curbing, which is they've started doing. And part of our program over the next 3 years will also be to working with the library to improve the parking lot over here, which has some real challenges to it. So, yeah, we're going to be doing some work around here as well.
Which is great because it's long overdue, and you know, these are some of the things that that we have really focused our attention on, and to catch all of these up, we have plenty of work to do for the years to come. And so Maxwell Road is moving along. I think the state is doing an outstanding job with the Exit 6 project.
That project, I talk to the project manager probably once every 3 weeks. They're on schedule. They see no delays coming up.
That's great.
And provided we get through the state budget, we should be okay.
Yeah, they're, the last projection that I heard was the most difficult time period was this stage, phase 2, which we're in right now. And that's projected to go through the end of October, possibly beginning of November. And then after that, everything should be open and most of it's cleanup work. I've noticed that the median is formed and some trees have been planted. So as well as making that area safer and reduce some of the congestion, it's going to be a lot prettier as well.
It will be
and a lot safer for pedestrian crossing. So there's a lot going on there. And we've also in the future. I think some of the stimulus money has been set aside through, I believe the lead was Schenectady, and there's going to be some work done from the Route 5 corridor from the Schenectady line to the Albany line, which we'll benefit from because we're right in the middle of that.
Right.
So there's a lot going on in this very difficult economic time. If you drove around, you see a lot of people working here.
Right.
That's a good thing. That's
Well,
a good
it's
thing.
important that the town work with everybody to maintain the assets of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Those are important things for public safety and just for aesthetics. So
Right.
we're working hard at it.
That's for sure. Before we run out of time, can you talk a little bit about drainage, the drainage portion of the program, and a little bit about the stormwater mandates?
One of the more eye-opening aspects of this job is the amount of water issues that the town of Colonie has, because the town is relatively flat, doesn't have a lot of natural drainage systems, and so with heavy rains we end up with a lot of water issues, and we get a lot of phone calls on that. The town is required by law to manage our stormwater systems, and we have a requirement to look at what are called outfalls, or places where stormwater travels to. We have to review 20% of those a year. And so part of that program, as we're reviewing them, is we find a lot of issues. We found a major issue over the last 2 weeks on one of our outfalls that ended up costing about $50,000 to repair because the stormwater system had backed up and washed out a hill. So we're working through all the stormwater systems to make sure that they're operating correctly, and that when we have these heavy rainfalls, that the system we have in place will take the water and move it away from where residents live and move it off of our roads as quickly as possible. These systems are designed for rains that we experience every 10 to 20 years. Last year we had a 100-year rainstorm, and so it didn't move quite as quickly. It backs up. But we're out there and we're working very hard to get the stormwater system back up and operational where it's failing, and making sure that the rest of the system is in good repair.
Okay. And I know in the past, when the town, a lot of the homes and businesses were being built, the systems, as you said, they were designed for 10, 15-year storms.
Correct.
And the new regulations actually state they have to be designed for 100-year storms.
Which
Okay.
is what we had July
Yeah.
1st, a year ago today.
Yeah, so we certainly are getting our share of water. There's no question about that.
Yes.
But we can't control Mother Nature, but we do the best we can to deal with the problem with the resources that we have. So one other thing, just before we do run out of time, is you've been here now since January, and you certainly have taken on an awful lot, and a lot of accomplishments with your staff to date, which is wonderful. And as you started the conversation, you said that it was challenging, and there's no question about that. But could you name, if you had to, could you name what the most challenging part of your position is?
Well, I should say, I would say the most challenging, the most interesting aspect of this job has been learning about and managing the landfill. That is it. I don't think residents in Colonie understand the magnitude of the operation up there. What used to be a regular dump is now a full-fledged operation that has environmental aspects to it, stormwater, leachate, recycling. It's not just going up and dumping garbage anymore. And the operation, I had very little experience in that. I've learned a heck of a lot about landfills over the last 6 months, and we're also looking very closely at the operation, the income and the expenses, and how we can best leverage those assets for the residents of the town.
It's the landfill in itself. It is very interesting, and there's so much involved with it. There's so much for the future. When you read about it, there's so much new technology out there, and there's so many things that will have to be done to protect the environment, and yet we have to have a way to manage all of our waste. So it is definitely a big field for the future. These kids that are into engineering
That's
and
for sure.
the environmental field, if they go that direction, I think there'll be a lot out there. But it is important for us to look at the options, because it's a big business. You know, landfill is a major business, and it does have a lot of parts to it that the average citizen wouldn't know about unless you really look into it. It's very complex. But yes, that's one of the things that we didn't have time to talk about. So
That's
maybe
right.
maybe in another session.
Excellent.
But I really want to thank you for being here today. We talked a lot about the Town of Colonie Road Paving and Drainage Improvement Program. It is a major program for us for the next 5 years, so it's important for our residents to know as much about it and, you know, have an opportunity to learn about it. So I thank you very much for being here today, and I'd like to thank our audience. Thank you for tuning into Colonie Connect.